Good evening, scrappers and casters. For tonight's video, I decided I'm not going to use the propane-powered furnace tonight. I'm actually going to go back to what really started it all, and it was this furnace here. This is a, I think it's a Procast. Yeah, it's a Procast. 2 kilo model electric furnace. It has a ceramic chamber in here, and on the inside of it is a heating element that's wrapped all the way around the chamber. So it evenly, heats this chamber, and then the crucible goes in here through this flange. Actually, I created this flange for it. You can buy flanges, but I made this one myself. And it just goes in there, and you put some, small material in there. It's like something like this, that'll fit in there. Sometimes you're going to get like small pieces to start it off. One thing I will say about this, it's a tabletop model. I mean, you don't have to really do it outside. I probably would. Only because you're dealing with molten metal and temperatures of like upwards of 2,000 degrees, and accidents can happen, like I've always stated in my previous videos. One thing that can be an accident is something like this. This is actually a crucible with a hole in it. So these crucibles are made out of graphite. You could get maybe about 15 to 20 melts with them, depending on how long the melt is and how long it's inside that machine. When I first melted copper, I really didn't know much about the machine. I didn't really do too much homework. I just did an impulse buy and bought it. I mean, I did a little bit of homework, but not much. And the first thing I casted was this little copper puck here. And once I saw how the copper actually cooled down, it made this really cool looking design in here. And, I was just intrigued by it. I'm like, this is like artwork to me. So, I took it to another level and invested in the propane furnace, and now I took it to an even further level by actually creating a YouTube channel dedicated to the hobby. So, but anyways, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and melt some aluminum, like I said. I'm going to get some small pieces here. I might melt this. That was from that 65-inch Samsung TV that I scrapped out last week. So stuff like this will fit in the crucible pretty good. I might have to like bend it down and just finagle it and get as much in there as I possibly can. We might even start with this one because it still has some aluminum slag in there, plus remnants of some other aluminum in there. So, maybe that's the way to go because there's already stuff in there and I can just, pack it a little further. So, but I mean, these furnaces, they do take a while to heat up. This particular one, if you're going to melt aluminum, probably take me about 20 minutes to heat it up completely. And then it'll probably take another 10 minutes to start melting down. To the point where I can just keep adding material to it and then fill the crucible all the way up. Because, even if you put, I don't care how tightly you pack these, when it's finally melted down, the volume is just like cut in half or even further down. You just don't realize until it's in a molten form, something like this could only be like, that far off the bottom, So it's kind of neat how it works. But yeah, I'm going to go through my bin tonight. It's not really all cast aluminum. There is some in here. There was a detention key that I tried making just for the heck of it one day. I'll probably melt that down. It was a fail, as you can tell. But, I just got some odds and ends in here, and I usually keep this for my small aluminum. The big aluminum, like extruded aluminum and the high-value stuff, I keep in a bin like this. I must probably have about 75 pounds in here, and I pretty much am going to be dedicating this just to the casting channel. So, like if you really like my videos and you actually don't think I'm really serious about this, pursuing this a lot further than I have, then you're definitely mistaken because I've definitely got the material to do it. That goes the same for brass and that goes the same for copper. And as you can tell, there's 70 pounds of ingots that I've made and little various objects. Just from stuff in the garbage and things that people give me, So, anyways, I'll go ahead and get this set up. I'll take you through a tutorial as to how I actually set it up, loading the crucibles, and then I'll let it melt down. I won't do the whole process of the melting because we'll literally be here for 45 minutes, But I'll periodically bring you in to let you see what's going on. So, we'll just go ahead and get this set up, and I'll bring it right back. Okay, guys. I got some aluminum I'm going to start off with. It's only 2 ounces, but this is just to get it going. Pretty much, I'm just going to start loading up. This was from a light that I just got off the side of the road, a lamp rather. That's the fixture, and there was a piece of cardboard in here, and then some plastic, and then the wires and stuff. So, just picture a light switch from a lamp. It's just random stuff I'm going to throw in here. These are some shims. This is from some kind of gauge. Probably from an air compressor, actually. I know exactly what air compressor that came from, too. This right here is just like this stuff. You get this on like low-grade power boards, circuit boards, and stuff like that. So pretty much I just take it and I put it in my vise and I just beat on it with the hammer until it's small enough where I can just wrap it around like this a few times, and then it'll fit in the crucible. You don't have to worry if it sticks out a little bit off the top like this one does, because there is a little bit of clearance here for the head of the crucible and for a little bit of material. So I'm just going to start this off. Oh, you know what? Here's a piece right here. Maybe we could scrape off. There we go. Oh, that was a little spill from the last time. So we'll just stick that in there and then close the cover. Doesn't matter if it doesn't close 100%. I mean, you know, as long as it's pretty much closed. Then we're going to go ahead and flip it on. And hopefully this works, because I had to rig this the last time. You know, yep, I hear it. The heating element is powering up. So pretty much to melt aluminum, I usually like to start off with, we're just going to set it here. I usually start off with 900 degrees Celsius. And pretty much it melts at 800 and I think 60 or 893. I can't really remember, but I'm going to start off with 900. Just set. So that'll take probably about a good 15 minutes to warm up. I'm not going to be using any borax tonight. Most of the aluminum I'm going to be melting is clean aluminum. Like, I'm not going to melt this, you know, lacquer-covered aluminum wire from those transformers that I had scrapped out. You know, and like aluminum foil, I would not recommend melting. Honestly, just cash it into the scrapyard. It's very dirty, especially if it has food particles on it. It just really stinks when you melt it. And you don't really get much off of it anyways. I mean, I might do something like this. You know, some of these were from that Samsung TV, but there's still some plastic on it right here and a little bit of connectors and, you know, some of those little plastic things. I don't know what that is. But plus it's got a powder coating on it. That's kind of dirty. I might not melt that. I might use the bigger furnace for that. This is clean. That came from that lamp that I scrapped out today. You know, it's just, I don't know. I'm just going to pick and choose. I'll melt this detention key that I tried making. It failed when I originally cast it into it. It's just so small. You know, I didn't have a two-piece mold to do it, and I pretty much just stamped it down and then, you know, put another board on top of it, you know, from the hope and drag box, and pack sand in it and hope for the best. But I find you at least need a little, something needs to be kind of thick in order to cast it correctly, unless you've got, you know, in like an injection mold where, you know, pressure's forcing it through and everything just gets filled up. But something like this I could scrap and melt in there. I mean, that is aluminum. It's not stainless. I checked it because I ground it on the grinding wheel, and there was no sparks coming off of it, and it's not magnetic, so that's definitely aluminum. But I might just go through some of these small pieces and, you know, just get rid of some of it like that. That's a door lock, cylinder collar. I might actually keep that. That was back when I used to do service calls, but I don't do service calls anymore, so I don't really have a need for that. You know, just random pieces from electric motors. These are the little brackets that hold the motor assembly together. You know, this one's not cleaned yet, but I might clean that. So, just little odds and ends. So, anyways, this, like I said, this is going to take about 20 minutes to get fully up to temperature. It looks like it's climbing pretty quickly now, but once it gets to about 400 degrees Celsius, it tends to drop down and go a little bit slower. So, you know, we'll bring you back pretty much when the material's melted down, and then I'll just keep adding material to it and as we go, and I haven't really decided what I'm going to cast yet. Probably just a little bar or something. I just pretty much wanted to show how the electric furnace works. And you can tell I haven't used it in a while because, you know, a lot of dust. Yep. So, it's probably been about 2 years since I have actually used this. But, anyways, I'll bring you back when it's up to temperature. Okay, guys, we're up to temperature. This model kind of fluctuates a little bit. I mean, it's got a temperature controller in there that keeps it relatively around the same degrees. It fluctuates usually -10, +10. You'll see the numbers jump down, and then they'll start slowly creeping back up. Like, it's going to start creeping up in about 2 seconds here. Well, anyways, it is up to temperature. You can notice that the aluminum is melted. For a good portion of it is melted, rather. But I'm just going to add a few more pieces here. I'm just going to add some of the smaller ones for right now until I get a really good pool in there. And then I'll start adding these longer pieces in there. But, you know, just throw something in like that. And then, you know, something like that. And this is a very slow process. But like I said, if you don't want to invest a lot of money into a propane setup, and then, you know, the molds and everything else, I mean, you could start off really cheap, something like this. But like I said, I particularly don't like it, especially since I upgraded to the propane one. You know, but this is all I had when I started off, so you know, just gonna add a little bit of more material in here, and then I'll just close it up, and I'll just keep periodically checking it. You don't want to keep opening the cover like every 2 minutes to see, because, you know, it does, you know, cool down a little bit when you open the cover, because, you know, room temperature air is getting to it really quickly, and it doesn't have like a steady flame going to it like the propane powered one. So, you know, you just don't want to keep opening the cover like every 2 minutes. You know, every 5 minutes pretty much is okay, especially if you're just going to add a little bit more material real quickly, and that's it. So, but anyways, once I get most of this melted down, I'll bring you back. I'm going to melt this last because I actually want to show you something about, you know, metals and, you know, what happens when they're molten form. So anyways, I'll bring it right back. Okay guys, pretty much I'm almost to the end. I've actually been adding a lot more material from the box here, just little small things like this. I'm just trying to get rid of some of the smallest stuff as possible, maybe some of these, but I mean, I'm literally maybe about 2/3 of the way to the top. I'm going to go ahead and just push this down. It will actually start melting a little bit quicker. You can actually see it just going right into the pole right there. It's smoking pretty bad because that's the paint that's on those bottle caps, and then the powder coating that's on the other pieces. So, I mean, like these right here, this is all powder coated stuff. So, you know, that will burn off and have a little bit of smoke. So, anyways, make sure you do it in a ventilated area. I'm actually going to open the garage in a minute. And, you know, pretty much just use your best judgment and try to be safe when you do stuff like this. So I'll bring you back when the rest of this stuff is melted here, and then this is going to be the last thing I put in there before I pour. And I still have not decided yet what kind of mold I'm going to use tonight. So anyways, we'll bring it back. Okay guys, everything's pretty much melted down. You can see that the crucible is pretty much almost full. One thing I wanted to just give you an example with, I'm going to melt this last. I just wanted to show you what happens when you add it to the material, you know, close up. You couldn't even really see it in the propane videos, but once you pretty much add this to the molten aluminum, you know, pretty much it instantaneously just melts down. I'm just going to wiggle it around a little bit just to get most of the material off, but you can see that pretty much it's melted. I mean, that's pretty much what happens. So I'm just going to go ahead and melt this down a little bit further. I wish it was actually all the way to the top, because I'm probably not going to be able to put it in this way. Nope, I'm definitely not going to. So, but that's pretty much what happens, you know, when you add, you know, a solid piece of metal to a molten piece of metal. You know, like it just literally melted down like nothing. So, anyways, this is pretty much ready to pour. I'm just going to put that down here. I've already preheated the mold here, and I've got the other GoPro set up because I want to get kind of more of a close-up angle. But in order to do this, just pretty much grab the crucible with the tongs. There's a little bit of a lip around here. When the crucibles get really thin, these tongs are not really that good. Let's just swish it around. You know what? It's a little solid on top because I just added that big piece. So I'll bring you back when I'm all set. Okay guys, we're pretty much ready to pour. One thing I didn't mention earlier was when I get ready to pour the molten aluminum from this furnace, I increase the heat by about, or the temperature rather, by about 90 degrees Celsius. The reason being is you always want the metal to be, you know, warmer than molten. And what that means is when you pull the crucible out of this unit here, as soon as you pull the crucible out, the crucible starts cooling down immediately, especially to room temperature. So what you try to do is you try to heat it up a little bit hotter, so when, you know, you pull the crucible out, it accommodates that cool down period and gives you enough time to pour all the material out. This way here it doesn't get stuck halfway, or it just doesn't start you know, solidifying. So anyways, this is ready to pour pretty much, so I'm going to go ahead and open this up. You can see that it is molten. So I'm going to bring this out, and then I'm going to start the camera on the other one just to get the pour. Let's just go ahead and turn this a little bit this way. Get that out of the way here. And then I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to hit record on the other camera so you can see the glowing right there. And we're ready to pour. And there is always some that is left over. You can see inside the crucible. Hopefully you can see that. But pretty much there is some stuck to the walls. There is a little bit of slag at the bottom, which I could get out at a later time. Pretty much just put this back in. You can see it's pretty much starting to solidify. So this just falls right in like that. I try to clean the edge off. And then maybe just... It wasn't really that great of a pour. You can see a little bubble right there because I did it too fast. But some of that might be slag too. But it is solidifying right now. And, you know, pretty much when we're ready to get it out of there, we'll bring it back. That was a pretty failed pour. You can see where I poured it too quickly. And it just made a big air bubble, and it cooled before the air bubble could fill in. So that is a pretty much failed pour, but I did get, you know, a bunch of this actually melted down. So I guess it wasn't a total fail. Now I can just throw it in with my bigger stuff and just remelt it in the future. But yeah, pretty much that's definitely a fail. Okay, guys, I think we're ready to pour. This is the second crucible that I filled up. I screwed up on that first bar. So I just want to redeem myself here. Well, wasn't enough to fill in the corner there. You'll notice when I poured that, it's almost like molasses when it comes out. And that's how aluminum really is. You can actually see it hardening up here. See all the crystals forming. And then it's going to start solidifying over here next. But yeah, you'll probably see maybe a little crater in here. Usually on the top side, there always is some kind of crater, especially with the aluminum. The other one, I don't think it actually had it. It had it on the opposite side. Yeah, but it had all that junk metal there. But I don't think this is going to have a lot of junk metal in it. So this is pretty much solidified. I usually wait a few more, about another minute or so. Reason being is it's still soft in the middle. And when you try to smash this out of here, sometimes it will crack the bar in half, which I've had happen a few times actually. So, yeah, I mean, it's always best to just be better safe than sorry than wait a few extra seconds. So, yeah, it's pretty much solidified right now. So we can go ahead and crack this out. Actually, I want to move these. Move these right to the floor. They're ready to smack this out of here. And I'm going to put the other camera on too. That's actually a pretty decent looking bar, with the exception of the rounding on the edges here. Almost looks like the letter D, minus the part in the middle that's still there. But yeah, that's pretty much what you can expect, especially from an electric furnace. So, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and quench this. Let's see if I can grab onto this, bring it to the edge here. You can hear it sizzling right now because there's still some kind of condensation on the pliers from the last pour, quench. And that's pretty much it. Now, I did want to mention, that's a really good looking bar. I mean, there's a tiny bit of junk metal here. There always will be something like that on the top. But one thing I wanted to mention is, especially when I was using this mold for copper, you know, I would always get holes in it with the copper. And, you know, copper, when you melt into cast iron or any kind of steel mold, will always be some kind of holes. It's never going to be perfect. A graphite mold is definitely the way to go when you're melting copper. But when you're melting aluminum, you can actually see that it doesn't really matter. There's really no holes in this. It actually looks pretty decent too. I mean, it just run this under the wire wheel real quick, and this is ready to put in my ingots. Probably not going to save it as an ingot. I mean, I don't usually stack aluminum. It's just mainly copper and brass that I hold on to. The aluminum I'm just going to be using for casting projects in the future. So, you know, pretty much, you know, that's what you can expect to get from an electric furnace. This was probably a total of an hour's worth of, you know, footage, you know, cut down to the size that it's going to be, you know, once it's at its final stage. But, you know, it literally took about 20 minutes to get the furnace up to temperature, melted the aluminum that was in there, and then keep adding aluminum to it until it was full. I must have added probably about 15 or 20 times. Not really. More like 3 or 4. Sorry, it's been a long day. But, yeah, so pretty much that's what you can typically expect. Let's just go ahead and weigh this up real quick. We're actually going to weigh both of them. Let's see what we got here. Oop, there we go. So this first one here, there was originally 2 ounces of aluminum in that crucible. I gutted it up completely to the top, and then, you know, this is what came out. So 9 ounces on that one. I think this one's going to be a lot lighter. But it might not be because of that hole that's in the middle here on the other side. No, might not be. It might actually be roughly around the same. So let's just go ahead and put this on here and see what it weighs. 8.5. No, not bad. I was a little off, but, you know, anyways, typically that's what I do with my small aluminum. Just melt it down into smaller little bars like this, and then, you know, I can actually fit one of these pretty much. There we go. Don't want to melt my table down. I've actually done that on a previous table. But pretty much now, it can fit right in the crucible like this, and I can melt it down. I can put about 3 in there comfortably. And then I'm pretty much ready to rock and roll on the next melt, you know, if I decided to use this. So I do hang on to a few of these oddball type bars just for that reason. You know, stuff like this, I don't really like loading in the crucible. I mean, especially, like I said, aluminum foil. That stuff stinks pretty bad. Something like this, I would melt the aluminum wire. But anyways, yeah, that's the electric furnace. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut this down. And pretty much, you know, that in there. I could get that out if I wanted to, but I'll just leave it for the next melt in the near future. So anyways, thank you very much for watching my video. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe, hit the like button, share it amongst your friends, and be sure to hit that bell notification at the top, because that will alert you when I do future videos and they get posted to YouTube. So again, thank you very much, and happy scrapping and happy casting.